Well, now to an example of what happens when you run on a bold and fearless election campaign platform against mass migration. Reform UK, led by Nigel Farage, triumphed at the weekend in the local council elections. It won 10 of the 23 councils, secured 677 council seats to the Conservatives' 319 and Labor's 98, as well as 2 mayoralties and a parliamentary by-election. And I've got to say, Conservatives here could learn a thing or two from these results, because nobody doubts Nigel Farage when he says he wants to stop the boats, stop the influx of migrants who do not share British values, and Farage certainly doesn't shy away or back down from his policies, because in the end, it's not far right to actually care about your country. Now, one of those elected at the weekend is Sky News contributor Darren Grimes, who's been voted in as Reform UK Councillor for Durham, and I'm pleased to say Darren joins me now live. Darren, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Look, the results across the board for Reform are incredible. What do you put it down to?
Thank you very much. Danica, I couldn't have said it any better myself than your introduction. I might as well pack up and go home right now. You know, honestly, it's absolutely wonderful. It's humbling as well, and we've got to deliver now. But I put it down to, you know, I went personally from talking about broken Britain on telly to actually wanting to roll up my sleeves and actually try and do something about it all on a local level and build up to that national level come 2029. But if you want change, right, the old slogan is be the change. And I think actually in County Durham, in this corner of England of ours, we've been ignored far too long by the Labour zombies that, you know, took winter fuel payments away from pensioners just to spend £5 billion on asylum seekers who are coming here illegally, as you rightly say, and the do-nothing Tories that were here for 14 years and achieved the square root of naff all. So we're here to put local people first. We're not here to put political correctness first, or pronouns first, or Westminster waffle first. We're here to sort out getting your bins collected, fixing your roads, and stop wasting cash on woke nonsense and migrant madness, which I'm afraid to say that a focus, a laser-like focus on these issues and the likes of net zero, which is handing a strategic advantage to China and not a strategic advantage to the working class in our communities, they aren't things that we are going to focus on. So people want a genuine change, not the microwaved meal that they were being offered by both of the uniparty political parties.
Absolutely. Back to basics. That's what we need. And just on that point, Darren, because Reform, as I mentioned, decimated even the Conservatives. Why do you think that's the case? I mean, it's a trend we're seeing around the world. We just had our election in Australia. The Liberal Party was wiped out. The Canadian election a few weeks ago, same deal. What message does a victory like Reform's send to Conservative parties?
It's very simple, Danica, very simple. People are sick to the back teeth of being ignored, of being patronised and of being lied to, right? Reform is actually giving a voice to the silence. When Nigel Farage says that he wants to control our borders, you know that he means it. The working class patriot, the small business owner, the taxpayer footing the bill for the government's mess and the migrant madness, we're not offering sound bites here or soggy centrism like I think the Liberals tried to offer you guys in Australia just now. We're offering common sense. And that used to be a key tenet of so-called conservatism. Do you remember that, Danica? These days it's not. It's sort of a reheated liberalism. And what we really need is to be unapologetically pro-nation state in an age when global volatility and the threat from China, Russia, Iran, all the rest of it are sounding off like never before. We need to be unapologetic about putting ourselves first for a change instead of putting all of the world that wants to come to our countries first too. It just can't work like that. We've got to actually focus on key priorities and, as you say, back to basics. Although, Danica, that phrase is now associated with John Major, who was one of our most useless prime ministers. So I certainly don't mean to hark back to him.
Well, I won't be repeating that line ever again, Darren. Thank you so much for the heads up on that. And look, I've got to ask you, Reform UK councillors are being instructed to take part in DEI and climate change training. So, Darren, will you be taking part?
What do you think, Danica? Look, I'll tell them straight. You know, you stand for something in life, Danica, or you get flattened. And we are people that will stand for something. You know, people voted for the Conservatives expecting strength, borders and law and order, maybe a bit of pride in your country. And instead they got net zero lunacy, record immigration and a Prime Minister that acted totally ashamed of Britain now today with the Labour Party. So we at Reform, we will be saying no to all of this stuff. We're not going to be lectured by some clipboard-wielding bureaucrat with his pronouns on a lanyard, right, talking about unconscious bias or how I can maybe glue myself to a tree to save the planet. Absolutely not. We're going to be helping constituents and council waste. And I'm all ears if you want to talk about that as far as training's concerned. But if it's the usual ideological box ticking, well, I can tell you, Danica, you can stick it where the solar panels don't shine.
Oh, what a fantastic line. Darren Grimes, I'm so happy for you. And I think you're just going to do such wonderful work in this job and beyond. So congrats again. Well done. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.